Welcome to Let's Talk Kenmore, a lighthearted podcast aimed at connecting our citizens to their local government and demystifying the role of government in the city of Kenmore. I am your host, Amber Clifton. In today's episode, I talk to the city's right-of-way inspector, Jarrett Smith. He explains to me what the right-of-way is, when you need a permit, and how to make sure that the work you're doing is in compliance with the city code. Please enjoy this installment of Let's Talk Kenmore. Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Kenmore. I am here today with our right-of-way inspector, Jarrett Smith. Hello, Jarrett.
Hey, what's going on, Amber?
Thanks for coming on the show today. What are you going to tell us about the right-of-way? First of all, what is the right-of-way for those of us who don't know, including myself?
So the right-of-way, it typically means public land or easements that's granted for like construction, maintenance of roads, sidewalk installation, and there's utilities that use our right-of-way and other infrastructure. It also gives the city the legal authority to use the area to benefit the community, and it ensures the proper functioning of public services and transportation.
So what is the public allowed to do and not allowed to do, like legally in the right-of-way?
So usually pretty much everything in the right-of-way does require some sort of permit, but generally the public's allowed to use the right-of-way for walking on the sidewalks, accessing their property, routine landscaping, routine maintenance such as sweeping or clearing debris. So some of the activities that require permits, it includes any construction, repair work, modifications that affects a right-of-way, such as installing a new driveway, replacing an existing driveway, sidewalk, or making utility connections, activities that require traffic control. And, a lot of people don't know that, but, it's for the public safety, their safety, everybody's safety with the traffic control. And also, too, landscaping. A lot of people don't know landscaping requires a permit, and sometimes it doesn't, but we want people to come in to check, because landscaping like planting, removing trees, or other vegetation, permit may be needed.
So yesterday, my neighbor had an arborist out and they were like trimming branches, and they had like a sign in the road that said arborist ahead or whatever, but there was like no flagger. So does that count as traffic control, or does that mean you have to actually have a person managing traffic?
Yeah. So if they're off in the shoulder, they should have like a roadwork ahead sign. But once you park in that travel lane, you want flaggers, because oncoming traffic's coming, and it's we want the workers to be as safe as possible, and traffic control is needed within our right-of-way in Kenmore.
And so that includes like a bike lane?
Oh, yeah. Yep. There's required signage for bicyclists. We have, just to notify them that, hey, this bike lane may be closed. So, we want those signs in advance so they're aware. Because, we're getting a lot of bike lanes in Kenmore.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah. And too, Amber, we get a lot of people placing storage containers, or like they want temporary parking, and stuff like that requires a permit.
You can get a temporary parking permit?
It's not normal, but I would say temporary parking, say if you had like a trailer and you could, but typically those do not get approved. But we mainly see the storage containers.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, like the pods. And there's events too, gatherings, people that host events, they sometimes spill over into the right-of-way. Those may need a permit because typically, they could involve street closures, block parties, and those as well require a permit.
So, for example, like when it's garbage day and I bring my garbage cans down, I'm in the right-of-way, but it's okay for that day because I have to, right?
Yeah, and that's goes back to like the use for general public. It's kind of like they're they used to use that portion of the right of way to bring down your garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to like put a flower pot there, that's a no.
A flower pot, we it it could be okay. I mean, it depends on
Okay.
if it's. So we're looking at like permanent immovable objects. So if some
Oh.
and stuff like that. So we see like retaining walls if they're
Mm-hmm.
installed at the edge of the like the edge of the fog line or the edge of pavement, and we're looking at like what if somebody hits that as they're driving down the road, and we do allow some of that to be installed in the right of way, but they have to meet certain standards, and typically that is like 10 feet. We want those 10 feet off the roadway or the fog line. um,
Oh, okay.
Cause that, yeah, because that could be like somebody can severely get injured if they hit those immovable objects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Amber, I do want to say that, and you're probably going to ask this, but
No, go for it.
yeah, I mean, we see so many people that, and you're aware of this too, that so many people out there, they just automatically go out and do the work, and which I understand. I get it. I'm like, hey, we got we got this idea in our head. We want to beautify this area and make it nice and pretty. Uh, just please check with us because it eliminates possible code enforcement, and sometimes that includes some fines. And the toughest and saddest part of my job is seeing like amazing work done in the right of way, and me or someone else having to say, "Hey, we're sorry, but this is not does not meet our standards. You may have to remove it or restore the right of way and just completely remove the whole thing, or redo it and bring it up to our standards." And
Right.
then you still have to get the permit. You you have to bring the site plan and tell us what you're doing. And it's just I it's so sad seeing that when it could a lot of that's preventive. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just added cost to both of us, the owners and the city.
Yeah. So, yeah, so this is an example where it's not better to ask for forgiveness. Um, so if somebody does the work and they didn't get a permit, but it does meet the standards and everything is fine, like, do they have to undo it and apply for a permit and redo it, or?
No. So if it,
Okay.
yeah, if it, so typically that would be like a driveway, and we see a lot of that. People, hey, this is mine. It's my driveway. I use it. No one else uses it but me. I'm just going to go ahead and redo it. And so some driveways won't meet our standards if especially if they widen it more than what our standard allows. Then they may have
Hmm.
to shrink it, or somebody may install a driveway where, like a second driveway, where their property doesn't allow for two driveways. So they may have to remove. That's that's one case where they would have to remove it. But typically, if it meets our standard, we would just have them apply for the permit and submit the site plan showing what they did.
That's good information to know because I actually I am a Kenmore resident,
Yep.
but I've often thought like I would rather have no grass in my front yard because I don't want to mow anyway, and just cement the whole thing. You know what I mean? But that would be a no go, right?
Right. Yep.
Why is that?
Uh, so the main reason is that it just causes a lot more surface water runoff. Uh, yeah,
Oh,
and so we want these surfaces to be pervious, which allow storm water to flow through, like say grass or any other natural ground cover. We want that stuff to kind of filter out some of like the dirty, I guess if you say like storm water, because it's kind of a natural filtration system. And once you say if you pave the shoulder in front of your house to for parking, then you're adding extra like oil from cars, and then once it rains, all that just washes off down and it runs directly into the storm system. And we all know where the
oh,
drainage goes out to sometimes out to the rivers and the lakes, and it directly,
right.
yeah,
I had never thought about the trickle down effect, no pun intended.
Yeah.
People, I don't think people think about the environmental aspect. And do you think that it's different when you are in a waterfront city? Are the standards for that different?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I believe
Oh, okay.
it's changing everywhere. As
Mm.
environmental standards, they're changing, and I think here too. We're pretty strict on that just because of where we're at. But I think
Mm.
it's becoming strict in other states too.
Yeah. Well, I won't pave my lawn, so don't come and give me a code compliance. So so when you go out and do inspections, what exactly are you looking for? Because you do inspections primarily for utilities, yes?
Yes. Yep. So
Okay.
on the homeowner side or developer, so for the right that means all the right of way use permits. The compliance. So when inspecting, I check that the activity is being done. That they first have the necessary permits and that the work is being done to our code and standards. Check that structures modifications meet safety standards for pedestrians and motorists, which includes the presence. Check the correct use of signage within the construction zone or areas with special regulations. Also, ensure that any activities in the right of way comply with our environmental regulations. Look for structures or modifications in the right of way that lack the required permits. And of course, looking for obstructions that impede pedestrian or vehicular traffic. Say they may set like construction debris, on the sidewalk, or they may, sometimes they even see it just like stuff falling out into the roadway. And people, sometimes they're
Mm-hmm.
just concentrating on, their site, and they don't know what's going on. Like somebody may have left stuff, once they left.
Right.
Also look for safety violations and address any safety concerns, which that could be, say, if somebody cut into our street, they added like, temporary asphalt patch to the road, and all of a sudden this is like settling, and now it's a huge pothole. Or it could be
Mm.
somebody in a trench without shoring to protect the person installing whatever they're doing in the trench. So we just want to make sure people are safe.
What does shoring mean?
So it's OSHA requirement, and it's so once you're in a trench, a certain height, the sides there can be a cave in, and all of a sudden it can entrap a worker in the trench, and that's
Oh,
a high probability that the worker in there cannot get out. And we see a lot of, I mean, not here, but it happens everywhere, Amber. And we see just the risk with somebody getting
mm.
buried, and it doesn't turn out good for the worker in the trench.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. Do you think it's more prominent in like wetland areas? Is it cause for like a more unstable ground?
That and it's a lot of it depends on the soil type, and so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the areas where people are working, it could be like silty sand, or area. It could be an area that's already been exposed in the past, like dug up already, and they could be working in a trench that's already been previously disturbed, and could all be on what they use for the backfill. And typically too, once you do disturb that ground, it has potential just to, because it's a weak point, and it has the potential just to kind of slough in on you. So you want those,
Oh,
the trench box or shoring just to protect, just protects the sides of the trench, and they're easy enough to put in, and just it's better all around because hey, we're concentrating on safety, and that's our first and foremost thing to protect our workers
wow.
and everybody involved.
Yeah, that's scary. Um, and so you have your inspection, but then what are you looking for when you go out and do job starts, which I schedule, and then that's the extent of my knowledge of what we're doing is that you're going to this job start and I have no idea what happens after that.
Uh, so job starts. I love them because it allows me to verify first. I do, I really do. So I
Mm.
verify that, okay, were there any other permits that were needed before, they started work? And then it triggers me. It's like, hey, we're going to start this job. And then I can check just to kind of like follow up and say, okay, was there anything else that they needed to do? That way we have time to still give them that heads up. It also helps with my scheduling and to help prioritize inspections by allowing me to schedule my time efficiently, allowing me to focus on projects that are just beginning and ensuring that inspections are done in a timely manner. Because a lot of times, as you know, Amber, I have normally just more than one job start on any given day. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of allows, hey, I can focus on, okay, this one's critical. This one, kind of just like add them in the schedule where they're best placed. And plus, too, it's like by location, I can kind of like, okay, I'm going to be here. And I might as well just swing over here just to see if they're out there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, it's a great tool because it gives me that initial communication with the permit holder, which then gives me the opportunity to say, hey, let's meet. What time are you going to be there? I can make it. And then we discuss the job in further detail. It's kind of like an on-site pre-con, because typically they
Yeah.
don't start right away, and I'll be like, hey, I'll be there, and also gives me the time to provide advance notice to others if there are conflicts with the day that they're scheduling the job, because there could be like
Right.
something going on that day. Hey, we're going to start on this day. Oh, wait, hold up, I got this project happening. Let me give them a heads up in case there's any conflicts. That also helps with when I'm out of the office, because when they email a job start, they'll receive my out of office email, and then they'll have a name of who the contact is, in case of my absence.
So if there's conflicting work going on, are you the liaison to make sure that it gets coordinated properly? Or do you ever just say to one utility, like, hey, these other guys are going to be out there too, so you need to call them and you guys need to figure it out?
Yeah, so typically I do. It all depends. I do like to be that liaison between the two because it kind of ends up like eliminates that middleman, and it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I already have their number. Say like if it is a utility, and I can say, hey, you guys are installing this gas main. I got this project going on down the street. Will you be able to work? Oh yeah. I don't know a time when they said that they can't, work with others. But even too, it's just like with our own projects going on. Say like if any of the engineers there have a project, I'll say, hey, this is going on. Just a heads up, and let me know if you need any contact information or if you have any conflicts with it, and then I can allow it. Then I can talk to the permit holder of that other job that's got a conflict with it.
Is it extra painful when like a brand new beautiful overlay has just been done and then somebody wants to come out and like dig into it?
Yes, very painful.
I mean,
Oh, and that too. That's a great question, Amber, and I'm glad you asked that because that goes back to like the review process. Saying, hey, that road, because a lot of times they'll just get these jobs and be like, hey, we're going to be doing this, and they may not even know that if they cut into like a brand new street, it requires another overlay.
mm,
Yep. And it's just that
gosh, I feel
communication.
bad for the project managers, you know?
Yeah. And typically so for the right of way use permits, they typically won't be doing work that would trigger like an asphalt overlay or anything like that. I mean, unless they're installing like a utility, it would be the gas company or the power company or the utility that would be doing the overlay or scheduling that.
Oh. Do you ever have right of way work that starts in Kenmore and like extends into like Kirkland where they have to coordinate with both cities?
Oh yeah, yep, and
Mm.
that's been really good. And it's always I kind of like those two because it keeps us in contact, with other jurisdictions, and it's always, my experience with working with other jurisdictions has always been very positive, and it like allows us to let them know like, hey, we require this notice to our residents, give them a heads up, and sometimes they don't do that to provide that notice, so they don't know. And when they do submit a permit, we were able to tell them that, what's required for, like, especially with notification when it comes into our jurisdiction. We like our residents to, be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, there is a lot going on.
Yep. It can like eliminate so many questions too, just by giving people a heads up.
You've got a lot of things on your plate with everything going on in Kenmore.
I think we have such a great team, and everybody, like John, the other engineers within our department, they're like, hey, just let me know if you need any help. And, just knowing that's available, it's super helpful. So at this time, I think I'm able to get to everything, and knowing that if I don't, I could just say, hey, get with the city engineer, with John, and say, hey, I'm kind of struggling here. Is there any way to kind of help me out with this workload? And yeah, that's always been there. So that's a huge plus.
That's true. I am impressed with the amount that you have on your plate and get through in a day. But that's true. Communication is key. I think that if we all, and you seem to have a really good rapport with the utility folks. So it's just like communication is kind of key to having everything go smooth.
Oh, thank you, Amber. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want the folks to know about the right-of-way? Don't ask for forgiveness, ask for permission. That's loud and clear. What else?
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to echo. It's just, yeah, please, because it's like a lot of the work that, our residents do. It's amazing work, and it took a lot of time and effort, and not it definitely cost. But please just check with us. And our permit, I know a lot of people too think that maybe the permit process is painful. It may take a long time. I promise you that our permit process with the right-of-way use permits is definitely not painful, and I'd be glad to answer any questions and just offer help, rather than doing the work and having to redo anything.
That's good advice. Even if you're pretty sure that you're not going to be in the right of way, it doesn't hurt to pop into City Hall and just ask.
That's right. Yep.
Well, Jarrett, thank you for your time today. I have learned a lot.
Oh,
very valuable as a resident myself. Yeah.
Amber, I appreciate you doing these. I think these are going to add a lot of benefit to the community. Just by having that additional. Thank you. Yeah, it's just, because maybe people, say, hey, I just want to hear what this is. This is awesome. I know.
Yeah. I figure if I don't know, then there's probably a lot of people that don't know either. You know?
Yep.
Go find the expert.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Let's Talk Kenmore. Be sure to check back for more interesting topics and conversations. And as always, don't forget to ask yourself, where's the fun?